What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is First Wives Club, Season 1, Episode 3, 4. We're on Episode 4. And Episode 4. So we open this episode up. We see like a little like promo for like a spoof of like a Basketball Wives, right? We find out that Bree was a doctor in one of the scenes with one of the ladies who wants her husband to go back to work so that she can start her event planning business, child. Um, Hazel is making herself very at home and very unwanted in Bree's house. And Bree is like, her husband isn't picking up her calls. Like usually when she calls him, he answers and he ain't been picking up. And Hazel was like, well, you did just serve him with divorce papers. Maybe he don't have nothing to say to you right now. And she was like, but that's just not like him. Gary's normally picks up the phone. Now, Ari shows up and says, listen, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Come to find out, she finally got a copy of the prenup, but the prenup was contingent upon Hazel having a baby, which she never did. So Hazel, of course, now is struggling like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? Really? Is this what really happened? Is this what really this is all gonna be? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Um, Bree is like, well, I got a perfect idea. Why don't you sell some of all this stuff you got laying around because you got my house full of all this stuff that you need. Like, how much of, like, you got a lot of stuff, girl. And Hazel was like, of course not. Like, I can't just be selling, stuff that's going to make me look like I'm poor. And they were looking at her like, but you are. You poor. Then Ari gets a frantic phone call from her husband. Come to find out their daughter then got caught in a sex tape with her. And, well, it's not really a sex tape, but it's like a pre-sex tape. It's like a her with two guys. She getting high. They rubbing all up on her, and it looks like it's about to turn into a sex tape. And we find out her daughter is 15. Okay. Now Hazel has a meeting at the studio with her producer and with this guy, head of a studio, and he wants her to go into gospel. And she's like, "You got to be kidding me! Like gospel is where R&B artists go to die. Like I am not about to." Start doing gospel." And she basically dismisses him and she turns to her producer and says, okay, who's next? And he was like, girl, there is no next. Like that is it and that is all. Like there is nobody else. Like I really wish that you had been a little nicer to him because he's the only one that's returning my phone calls. And of course she immediately says Derek did this, right? Now, when she said it, I knew that wasn't it. Because they'd already been making it seem like she's like a washed up has been, the record company shelving her project. And I was like, girl, that might be the only person that's calling you back. You better humble yourself. Like Hazel, and I get it, you've been a diva for a long time. But Hazel, girl, I'm going to need you to humble yourself, okay? So she goes back to the house. And of course, she's upset. And Brie is like, girl, how did your meeting with the, with the producers, with the record execs go? And she was like, it didn't. Derek he done messed up my chances. And Brie was like, girl, then you need to come up with an alternative plan. Like, you really need to sell some of this stuff. So she ends up calling the lady from like the Basketball Wives, Real Housewives type spoof show. And she said, oh girl, this would be perfect. Like we can do an auction. We can call it your revenge auction. We can film it for the show. Everybody wins. Hazel is not really open to that. She ain't really here for it. But they kind of talk her into it. All the while, they are dogging out Bree's house. Bree was like, girl, y'all are tripping. I got a brownstone in Greenwichville. Like where I live is good. Like, it might not be no $10 million penthouse like y'all used to, but don't come for my house. Okay? Don't come for my house. So, Ari goes to talk to her daughter. And her daughter is like, listen, I am in a polyamorous relationship with Jack and Sparrow. I'm making up names because I'm not people's names. And they get into a whole argument. Of course, she lets her mother feel like that, her and the boys are having sex. They're in these big threesomes. They're doing this whole situation. And she gets Bree to come and talk to the daughter. Because she's like, and don't pretend like you really care about me. Like, all you care about is me not messing up dad's political campaign. Like, you really don't care about me in this whole scenario. You really only care about how this is going to affect dad. So stop acting like you do. So she gets Bree to come over and talk to her. And Bree was like, Brie was talking to her like a doctor, like, why are you using protection? Well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And of course, everything Brie said, she was like, yep, we getting it in. Yep, we're having sex all the time. Yep, I'm getting high all the time. Of course, that's what she's making it seem like, right? But at the end of the day, she ends up coming clean to her mom a little bit later on, because her mother finally sits down and talks to her and says, "Listen, I don't, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I don't even understand it. But if this is what you want, because she even threatened, well, I'll release the tape myself, because they were able to get the tape squashed. And she said, well, I'll release the tape myself. Now, most of us understand that this was just this 15-year-old looking for some attention from her parents. She already is in boarding school. She felt like her parents probably aren't really there for her. So it was just her looking out, reaching for some attention or whatever. And at the end of the day, they were able to sit down and talk. And she even told her, she said, listen, if you feel like releasing the tape is what you need to do, then you go for it. And she was like, Mom, I appreciate you pretending like you making it, like you giving me a choice, but I'm not going to release the tape. Like, I just, we're not even having sex. Like, we make out, but we're not having sex. She was like, so basically you got friends? Like you're 15, okay, you kissing a guy and maybe kissing another guy. That's not as bad as what I really thought this was, And they have like a mother-daughter moment. Like, they sort of bond on the moment. Now, Jill Scott is down to the auction. And, she's starting to have some second thoughts about doing this whole thing. She's like, do I really... because, she was like, do I really want to put my business out there like that? And, the basketball wife was like, girl, yes. Like, you're not the first or the only. Like, listen... And at this point, it's kind of too late. We got the cameras here. Like, this is going to happen. Then here come Derek. Derek showing up talking about I want my ring back. She was like, you ain't getting shit. Like, sir. She said, how was I supposed to live? Like, you are taking everything away from me. Like, you don't even want me to eat. Like, I broke. And she said, how could you even reach out to how could you do that and reach out to the record execs? And, try to have me blackballed. And he was like, oh, you thought I had you blackballed. He said, oh, no, ma'am. I didn't have nothing to do with that. He said, understand, you did that to yourself. He said, because people want to hear you tell your story. But when was the last time you really wrote a song and it really came from your heart and you really, really talked to your people? He said, my artist / fiance, she might not be the best singer in the world. Oh, you can sing. We know you can sing. But you done lost some of that heart. And that's why you don't have no hits. He said, so as far as me blackballing you, I didn't have to blackball you. Let's be clear. You did it to yourself. So, of course, she's in her feelings. And now she's not going to do the show at all. And she tries to back all the way out. And, the housewife was like, listen, that's not happening. That's not how this works. We done already set this whole scene up. And we basically gonna have this auction with or without you. She said, girl, listen, you done already got caught on tape beating up your husband. You done already been accused of stealing from a high-end department store. Let's be clear, you are already a reality show. So you need to get on out there and you need to do what you gotta do. And so she refused to do it. So the basketball wife goes out there, and of course you could tell that a lot of the women in the audience were expecting to see Hazel. And probably a lot of them showed up, whether they could afford what she was selling or not, because they were expecting to see Hazel. So, of course, they're disappointed. And when she starts trying to auction and stuff off, nobody is really caring. And she said, wait a minute, like, that outfit is iconic. That outfit was from such and such a video, and it was about such and such. And so she eventually goes out on stage, and she starts telling her story. And she's, and then the girl pulls her aside and said, listen, I'm all about a good TV moment. That's what I'm here for. But I really don't want you to feel like I'm exploiting you. Like, you sure you want to tell all your business? Because then she went from A to Z. She went from not wanting to talk about her husband at all to telling all the business. She was like, I'm just saying, do you really want to tell all of this? And she was like, girl, get out of my way. We telling the business. And the crowd is with her. Her stuff starts selling. She makes a lot of good money, And she really takes those words to heart about what he said about her not writing, about Derek not writing, about Derek not putting, about her not putting her heart into her music anymore. Now, while all of this is going on, we still ain't heard from Gary. Okay? Hazel done helped Bree put the Find My Phone app, and helped her figure out where Gary was by tracking his phone. Baby Bree done found Gary. Honey, Gary is out living his best life. He out on a date with the teacher. Well, with the mother. I said, okay. So I'm here for it. With every episode, I like it more and more, y'all. Every episode, I like it more and more. And I probably will go back and read the book. Like, I'm one of those people that I'm okay with reading the book, even though um, I'm okay with reading the book after I've seen the movie, because I know the books always give me more information and they give you more background. I don't like watching. I don't like the other way around. Like, I'm okay going back, but I don't want to see the movie until, like, if I'm reading the book, I don't want to see the movie until I finish the book, if that makes sense. But I'm okay if I saw the movie first and then have to double back to the book. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.